Next up, we're moving from one superwoman to another. We've got Ting Lee, who's a nuclear medicine specialist from the Austin and current president of the Australasian Association of Nuclear Medicine Specialists, talking about the Theranostics landscape.
Thanks for that introduction, David. I certainly can't live up to Louise's superpowers. So changing tact a little bit really is to look at the Theranostics landscape and what is actually required for optimal patient outcomes, which really are the center of everything that we do here within the Theranostics space and everything that we do. Just a few disclosures relevant to the talk in particular. But in terms of the Theranostics arena, when it came to thinking about Theranostics, in my mind, the mud map that we have is really we had the patient in the center of it, and to make the patient front and center and the most important outcome for them, we need a multidisciplinary Theranostics team, we need adequate education and training. Importantly, we also need funding, because without funding, we won't be able to get the treatment to patients. In order to do that, we need the advocacy from patients as well as industry, and also through research, as you've seen throughout the day today. With the multidisciplinary approach, this is something that is obviously not only involves us as a nuclear medicine team, whether that be the doctors, physicists, radiopharmaceutical scientists, technologists, and coordinators, many of whom are here in the audience to discuss the results and the expert opinion for the suitability or otherwise of patients for Theranostics treatment, but also the referring clinicians, which again, there are many here, whether that be medical oncologists, radiation oncologists, surgeons, endocrinologists, etc. This is a little table that Declan actually published a few years ago, looking specifically at the prostate cancer multidisciplinary team at Peter Mac, and you can see that it's a very large team that is involved. The Australasian Association of Nuclear Medicine Specialists is, we represent the medical professionals in nuclear medicine and advocate to government. And we actually put together the first position statement on the practice of Theranostics in Australia, led by local world-renowned experts. And this was actually ratified by our College for Joint College Training in November 2020. And we continually update this, as this position statement really establishes the consensus on the recommendations regarding the care of patients receiving Theranostics therapy and to support the provision of safe, high-quality, targeted care by qualified professionals. To this end, these are the main aspects in this position statement, where again the patient is the center of everything we do, whether that be patient selection, consultation, and administration. The Theranostics specialist, or otherwise known as Theranostician, from the imaging side, interpreting the images, as well as administration of the treatment. Radiopharmaceutical scientists, ensuring that we have adequate production, equipment, QC, and good SOPs as well. Medical physicists for radiation, dosimetry, and again, SOPs, and technologists, nurses, and coordinators are also an important part of the multidisciplinary team. So we then had this published in the Journal of Nuclear Medicine a few years ago now, and really looking at these aspects, and we proposed that these guidelines could be adopted for other countries to promote the standards of practice leading to optimal clinical outcomes for patients receiving Theranostics treatments. And this has already occurred in several countries, including the Philippines and Jordan. Around the same time, Ken Herman and his team also put together a joint statement from the EANM, SNMMI, and IAEA on enabling how to set up a Theranostics center itself, but also covering a very similar range of topics, and it's actually a very good paper as well that outlines all these areas that are relevant to what we do. From an education and training perspective, you may or may not be surprised to know that the SNMMI Nuclear Medicine Global Initiative did put together this paper looking at the educational paradigm of Theranostics in nuclear medicine. And we did a survey, and we found that most countries, whether that be developed or advanced countries and developing countries, have practicing Theranostics at different levels But whilst it is part of the nuclear medicine training, particularly with regards to basic iodine administration for thyroid diseases, but it wasn't available for novel radiotracers. And none actually had a structured theranostics program. There are many curriculums in development, both prospectively and retrospectively, and current institutional protocols are really just being used around the world. So funding, again, remains an issue, as mostly were available in the private setting or with special access. So the ANMS Theranostics Committee is a multidisciplinary committee with patient representation and was established to actually promote the safe delivery of theranostics in Australia and New Zealand. And the aim was really to continuously review and update the theranostics position statement in line with local and international standards, the design of the ANMS Theranostics curriculum, implementation of any prospective curriculum in compliance with our colleges, and liaising with government bodies and industry to optimize theranostics access, and also to design the ANMS Theranostics course and regular webinars in all theranostics topics. In Australia, nuclear medicine advanced training is actually overseen by the Committee for Joint College Training in Nuclear Medicine, or CJCT, which is a combination of the College of Physicians and the College of Radiologists. Theranostics certification is overseen by the CJCT, and it monitors and reviews the nuclear medicine training requirements, assessment, and curricula in consultation with ANMS. The CJCT provides the appropriate supervision for the certification, including legacy provisions and prospective training, and is now embedded within the new curriculum for nuclear medicine. It also recognizes that nuclear medicine specialists who are credentialed in nuclear medicine. And now there is a register of certified theranostics providers in Australia that is available on our website, and this was a request by some regulatory bodies. On to regulators and funding. Obviously, advocacy on the domestic and international scene is really important. Here, my partners in crime, Michael and Louise, met with Mark Butler, who's in the middle there. He's our Minister for Health at the moment. You may or may not be surprised to know that radioiodine is the only original theranostic agent that is approved in Australia. There are other radiopharmaceutical treatments that are approved, like samarium and strontium, and pricing is was underfunded, and the price revisions did occur as of July this year. But when it comes to theranostics, the pending applications are lutetium PSMA, where continued advocacy is required, and on that front, going up to Canberra again next week to speak to Mark's team again. And then obviously with lutetium octreotate, there is industry and advocacy that is involved with the submission of that funding. In terms of advocacy, Simone Layden may or may not be here, but during her time at NECA, she got together this whole team of esteemed experts from all over Australia in 2021 and brought together the first National Theranostics Roundtable and really brought together researchers, clinicians, industry, societies, governments, and most importantly, the Australian cancer patient into the conversation. And this is to maintain the collaborative momentum and ensure that Australia leads the way in precision oncology in nuclear medicine. On the international advocacy front, Professor Andrew Scott is the lead commissioner for the IAEA WHO Lancet Oncology Commission for Theranostics. These are the main areas that this commission will be looking at: the trends of nuclear medicine, the workforce challenges, access and availability, and regulatory production as well, and research, as well as minimum training standards, for which the ANMS position statement has been incorporated into the workforce and minimum training requirements. We met earlier this year, was it just this? No, last year, sorry. And it looked at the multidisciplinary approach, education, training, curriculum requirements again, and the minimum requirements for competency. And this has now been published as of last week as the guiding principles of education and practice in theranostics in the EJN MMI. So in conclusion, for the best patient outcome, we need the best practice theranostics delivery. And that is provided by appropriately trained nuclear medicine professionals who have the background and the basics of open source radionuclide therapy with additional specialist training for complex theranostics as required. Partnerships with all our stakeholders is most important, with ongoing advocacy, both domestic, international, and patients for outcome and funding. In my last 5 seconds, I'd like you to save the date for the ANMS Theranostics course that will be held in W Hotel at Brisbane from the 24th to 25th of August, and together with our co-chair here, David Patterson, who's convening the course. It will encompass everything from thyroids to NETs to prostate cancer and more. So with that, thank you very much.